So what? You just faked it till you made it and all your desires became your reality? Yeah. You see, the drama of life is a psychological one. Anxiety, stress, and depression are written and produced by your own assumptions, which is precisely why when you learn the art of assumption, you learn to take control over your own success. You learn to be in control of your own happiness. You begin to manifest your deepest desires with ease. Let me show you how. Here's a very simple way for you to see it. So this is an airplane, and over here we've got your dreams and desires. And the airplane is symbolic for your vehicle. Your vehicle consists of the assumption of your dream being fulfilled. Assumption of fulfilled desire. So the assumption of your fulfilled desire already being a reality, that is your vehicle to your dreams and your desires. And what it does is it gets you safely over uncharted territories. Your own personal Bermuda Triangle. Bermuda Triangle. There we have it. For any of you who have never heard of the Bermuda Triangle before, Google it. Long story short, a lot of aircrafts have gone missing in this Bermuda Triangle, and to this day, these are unsolved mysteries. So rather than getting caught up in these uncharted territories, when you assume that you already possess what you desire, this is no longer a danger zone for you. Once you have understood this all-important law of assumption, you start to behave completely differently. You begin to act on your assumptions, which then produces a completely different and new personal reality for you, and you take yourself from the assumption of your wish being fulfilled to your dreams and desires actually being your reality. My name is Vanessa Samaina, and I am going to share all of my manifestation knowledge over the past 10 years in this video with you so I can help you to create your dream life. I will teach you how to do so instantly, so buckle up. We're going on a wild ride with one another and coming back to the application of the wonderful law of assumption. This is how you actually apply it in order to create the life of your desires. Just think about it, my beautiful ladies, gentlemen, jelly beans, and everybody in between. Let's say we've got two individuals, all right? So person one, which we will name P1, is a professional athlete. Person two, which we will name P2, this person is a billion-dollar entrepreneur. Person one and person two are both struggling with an identity crisis. Person one wants to become an entrepreneur. That's their desire, that's their dream, that's their goal. Person two would like to become an athlete. They have had enough of the business world and they want to transform their life. They want to try something new and they want to completely transform their personal reality. Just think about it, my gorgeous soul. If they both woke up one morning and decided to behave like that which they desire to become, don't you think that their 3D realities would start to completely change? If person one, the professional athlete, woke up tomorrow morning and started to build their mailing list, person one also built a website. Person one developed a product because they assumed to be that which they desire to be, which is to becoming an entrepreneur. Person one also started their own YouTube channel so people could even figure out what it is that they're offering or selling, what their entrepreneurial venture is all about. Person one perhaps starts a podcast, a blog. They do all of the things that entrepreneur in P2 would be doing. Don't you think that if person one rested for long enough in this assumption of being an entrepreneur and behaving like an entrepreneur, that the result wouldn't be them becoming an entrepreneur? Isn't it just logical that their 3D reality would completely change depending on their behavioral patterns and the assumptions that they're making of themselves? Well, the same thing goes for person two. If person two wakes up tomorrow morning and assumes that of the identity of the professional athlete, person one, they would start to study nutrition. They would figure out precisely what their protein intake should be, what they should eat at which times, what the amounts would be that they should be consuming. They would spend a lot of time at the gym or outdoors working out. That is what person two would dedicate their time towards if they assume to be the athlete that they want to become. They would probably also spend time competing, measuring up against other individuals, seeing where they stand and where they could improve. They would most likely get a trainer as well in order to be the best athlete that they could be. And if person 2, who was originally the billion-dollar entrepreneur, continues to live within the assumption of their dream being fulfilled, which is of them becoming an athlete, don't you think that if they lived in this for long enough, that if they lived this assumption for long enough, the outcome would be them becoming an athlete? Because what this observation also proves is that where your attention goes is where your energy flows. As person 1 continues to put more and more of their attention, meaning their energy, into these tasks, I'll put a little lightning bolt here for energy, the more that they focus their energy on becoming and living and assuming to be an entrepreneur, the less energy will remain in them being an athlete. And your energy is the fuel that gives life to all of your dreams and your desires. So the entrepreneur taking their energy away from their entrepreneurial ventures and instead fueling it into their dream of being an athlete, that is fueling their dream and taking away their attention from what it was originally placed on. So the more that you place your attention and your energy on a certain area of your life, the more that area will begin to grow and thrive. And the more you remove your energy from an area of your life, the more that part of you will begin to perish and dissipate. And this, my gorgeous soul, is precisely why making the decision of who you want to become is probably the most important choice that you will ever make in your existence. To choose, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the etymology of the word choose. The modern word choose comes from the Old English word kiozan. Kiozan, meaning to select, elect, decide, and prefer. In Middle English, the word choose evolved to chosen around the 12th century. And by the 14th century, the word choose solidified in its current form and meaning, which is to select between options based on preference and your own personal desires and judgments. So when I tell you that the most important decision that you will ever make in your life is to choose who you want to be, this is you having a plethora of different options and choosing precisely what resonates most with your soul. And at this point of my teachings, I want to remind you of this all-important concept that you must never forget. And if you've watched any of my previous videos, then you may still remember this. And that is the simple fact that creation is finished. My gorgeous soul, all creation is finished. You cannot force anything into being. You also cannot force magnetism, which means that you cannot force something to be drawn to you. You cannot force your desire to all of a sudden be crazy about being unified with you. You cannot make magnetism either, but what you can do is display it. What you can do is work with the existing magnetism. And that is precisely what I will teach you next. If you want to build a magnet, you can only do so by conforming to the laws of magnetism. You can neither create nor change the universal manifestation laws, but you can conform to them to get everything that you want and everything that you desire. And the way that you do so is by working with these laws. Give up any part of you that is trying to force something into being. Instead, willingly begin to identify with that which you most desire. You have to have full trust that your desires will find expression through you, which means that you have to start to assume the feelings of your wishes already being fulfilled ahead of time. Allow these feelings of your desires already being fulfilled to completely consume you. That is how you become one with your desires. Allow for me to visualize precisely what I mean by this. So here we've got your old self, all right? And this may be where you currently are because you are watching this video for a reason. You want to learn how to manifest your desires. And what you're going to do is you're going to learn to expand. You're going to learn for your desires to consume you. So this outer bubble is you being consumed bear with me guys, consumed by your desires. You completely allow for your desires to consume you and to basically give you this bubble around your old self, which is you expanding your personal reality to becoming more than you currently are, to seeing more possibilities and more opportunities than you have up until this point. Because remember, my gorgeous soul, creation is finished. Every single version of you exists, but the version of you that you're looking to tap into is greater than your current version. And in order to access your dreams and your desires, you have to expand what you believe to be true for you and what you believe to be possible as your personal reality. And right now, you may be thinking to yourself, okay, but Vanessa, I don't even know if all of my dreams are possible. And that is where I have to ask you an extremely important question. Are you wondering whether all of your dreams are possible? Or are you wondering whether all of your dreams are possible for you? Because those are two very different concerns. But luckily, I will help you break through any limiting beliefs that you may have about your goals and your desires. We'll break through them right here and right now. Let's get into it. Now, if I say to you that all things are possible, you might have objections, and that's completely valid and fine. You may say to me that's not true because I don't think, for example, that it's possible for human beings to fly. And you know what? You may just be right. And while I might agree with you to some extent, I would also dare to argue that actually it is possible. It's just about finding a suitable way, a suitable vehicle, in order to make dreams and desires a reality. After all, that's what airplanes were invented for. Which is why I would even argue that actually it's turned out to be a lot more comfortable for us to have access to airplanes rather than for humans to try to develop a way to somehow growing wings and using energy and muscle mass in order to fly from A to B. The Wright brothers realized that humans themselves couldn't fly and would probably never be able to, physiologically speaking, at least not in our lifetimes. But they still found a way to create flight. Because remember, this is about the goal. The goal was to be able to fly. And that's where I want you to apply this expansive way of thinking to your own goals. Why would you concern yourself so much with the how? Why wouldn't you just focus on the goals, which in this example was the goal to fly, and allow for a suitable solution to produce itself? In this case, the solution that was born out of focusing on the goal was that we are now able to use airplanes because the goal was to fly. And this proves that when you focus on the end goal, a suitable solution will manifest itself. Just think about the ridicule and all of the comments that the Wright brothers must have received for even having the thought and belief that it was possible for humans to find a way to fly. And yet they rested in their belief. They rested in the assumption of it being possible and just needing to find the suitable vehicle to get there. They did not concern themselves with the how. They focused on the desired outcome and the desired result. And when you apply this to your own desires, you will automatically begin to merge yourself with your desires, and solutions will automatically be provided for you. Therefore, when practicing the law of assumption, focus on the goal and do not concern yourself with the how. All right, that's a big no-no for you, my gorgeous soul. And this is where I need you to understand this all-important law. Your assumptions determine the nature of the world in which you live and you exist. You are and forever will be the creator of your own world. To manifest your desires, you have to completely ignore your present state and assume to be that which you desire to be. You have to claim it. You have to make it yours. And when you continue to do so and you live in the assumption of your desires being fulfilled, I promise you, your desires will respond. I've seen it time and time again with myself and my mentees. Using the law of assumption is the means by which all of your desires will easily be realized. Remember, my gorgeous souls, every single moment, whether it's conscious, unconsciously, you are feeling, you are consumed by some sort of emotion and some sort of assumption. And whether you're doing so consciously or unconsciously, you are constantly producing your current state. So whether you understand that you're in control or not, you are constantly producing your current personal reality. I'm not sure you've ever seen it from this perspective, so I asked you to be open to expanding your reality with me right here and right now. You cannot avoid assuming a feeling. You are always feeling something. None of us are numb. None of us are completely blank slates. But the all-important question is, what are you feeling? What are you assuming? So whether you're doing so consciously or unconsciously, what's happening all the time for each and every one of us is that we are assuming a feeling. And what either gives life to your desired reality or takes life force away from it is whether you're doing so consciously or unconsciously. When you are assuming a feeling and you are doing so consciously, that is when you are powerful. That is when you are in control of your destiny. However, when you are assuming a feeling and you're doing so unconsciously, that is what creates feelings of being powerless. You cannot control the fact that you make assumptions as a human being. You cannot avoid consciousness. But what you can control is the nature of your assumptions. And you want to ensure that the nature of your assumptions is always coming from a place of feeling empowered. So if what you can control is the nature of your assumptions, since having assumptions in general is out of our control, that means that when you have understood how to control your assumptions and you're stepping into it consciously, you hold the key to unlocking your desired reality and all of your goals and dreams and aspirations. But all along and all this time, I wonder if you were aware of the fact that you are in possession of this key to unlocking all of your desires. Und falls du das bis jetzt nicht gewusst hast, hoffe ich, dass dieses Konzept jetzt klar geworden ist. And now that you understand that you hold this key, you've got the power to set yourself free. But there is a very important detail about understanding the law of assumption and the key to unlocking your dreams that I must make you aware of. You must be a doer of the law of assumption. There is no way around it. Without application, even the most profound understanding will not produce any desired result. You must reiterate, reproduce, and repeat the most important and basic truths about your personal desires. I want to make this abundantly clear to you by stepping into another example. Guys, I check my analytics and a whopping 79.8% of you are not yet subscribed to the channel. It's about time you hit the subscribe button below and also leave a unicorn emoji in the comment section to let me and others know that you are part of the family and that you're enjoying this video. All right, let's get back into it. So up here we have your desire. Perhaps your desire is to surpass $1 million in sales. Product sales, sales of your services, your company doing $1 million in revenue, profits, whatever the case may be. It does not matter. What you need to understand is that the most important truth of this desire is that you will need to learn how to sell. You cannot have sales without selling. But you don't even have to become an incredibly good salesperson. Selling $1 million in your product or your services can be done without being an expert. But what you will have to do is repeat the behavior of an individual that does $1 million in product or services sales every single year. And in this case, the behavior is that you will need to make offers. The behavior that must be reiterated is to make it abundantly clear what it is that you are offering or selling, and making sure that the right audience understands that you have this offer available. What many people will fail to teach you about manifesting everything that you desire is that you have to strive to be. I want to make this abundantly clear, so make sure you're writing this down. What you must strive after is being. My beautiful ladies, gentlemen, jelly beans, and everybody in between, what you must strive after is being. The end of anxiety and wishing for your dreams to finally come true is to simply be. Because when you are what you desire to become, procrastination no longer exists. Because you are simply being what you want to be. You aren't putting it off or concerning yourself for hours and hours with the how. You simply are. You have completely completely left the loop of anxiety and overthinking, and you are simply being that which you desire to be. Remember person 1 and person 2, how the athlete and the entrepreneur woke up every single morning and simply decided to take action as that which they desire to be, which was the opposites of one another. Do not put this doing off. Do not concern yourself with the how. Simply be and understand these all important truths, which is number 1, that the dynamic prevails over the static. Which is number 1, that the dynamic prevails over the static. The doer will prevail over the procrastinator every single time. And number 2, the active. Rule number 2 is that the active will always prevail over the passive. I promise you, the active will every single time run laps around those which are passive. When you understand these important concepts and you begin to live life as a doer, you will always live as the most magnetic version of yourself. You'll see how people and opportunities seem to miraculously be drawn to this magnetic energy of you being a doer. You will forever be infinitely more creative than those who speak but don't act. You will always be more powerful than those who hear but don't do. So my gorgeous soul, from this moment on, your job is to begin to live life as a doer. And I know that many of you want to begin to live life as doers so you and your families can finally be financially free, so you can take care of your loved ones, so you can provide and live a life of ease. And I will now teach you how you can create the financial freedom that you truly deserve. But first, we need to address the elephant in the room. What are your beliefs about money? I mean, really. How do you truly feel when you hear the word money? If you grew up thinking that money was the root of all evil, or that's what your parents taught you, allow for me to expand your vision on this. What if money is just money? What if it isn't the love of money or the creation of financial freedom that's actually evil, but it's actually the lack of money and resources that then causes for evil to be created? Just think about it. Working a job that you can't stand and do not want to spend a single more hour at, that is evil. Arguing with your loved ones over money, that's evil. Working extremely hard but not even being able to make ends meet or pay your bills, in my opinion, that is evil. To some, being deeply in debt is evil. Committing criminal or morally questionable acts in order to obtain money, that, my gorgeous soul, is evil. But do you see how money in itself isn't evil? It just is. Money is just money. And you must learn to detach any limiting beliefs or negative beliefs about money in order for you to be able to manifest more of it. Because I have observed many people obtain large sums of money and lose those sums just a couple weeks after obtaining it because their internal beliefs were repelling them from being able to keep this money as theirs. In my program, Psychic CEO, I teach you how to level up your manifestations through my self-concept pyramid formula, which I came up with and I developed. We'll dive into this right now, and I'll also leave the link below in the description box because this is a concept that you cannot afford to miss. And while it is part of my program, I want to share this with as many of you as possible so you can take control over your own personal realities and manifest your desires into being. Let's get into it. So this is my self-concept pyramid that I've developed, and I will explain to you precisely how you can use this to your advantage. Once you understand your internal self-concept, once you understand your self-concept and you are able to change and upgrade it. So your self-concept pyramid is made up of 6 individual layers and levels. And why I chose the number 6 is because in numerology, this is a number of generosity, of harmony, and of family. And these 6 different layers are as follows. The first bottom layer is your state of consciousness. In order to be able to create your desired reality, you first need to understand what type of state of consciousness that you're in. Because when you precisely comprehend where you stand with yourself and what type of assumptions you make of your desires and your ability to actually reach and attain them, you will be able to have this burning desire desire for change that you truly need in order to eventually be living in your ideal existence. Because for a lot of us, when we do not properly live in the state of consciousness of believing for our dreams to be attainable by us, it can feel challenging to have a truly burning desire for change. But when you've got that, you will be able to renew your mind. And I'm just going to go through this really quickly. I explained this in far more detail in my actual program. Renewing your mind will allow for you to create the habit pattern of focusing on that which you desire to be, on living from the state of your goals. And when you treat it like it is the present, which is the next step, is when you actually start to see how slowly but surely your environment becomes the desire. Your environment starts to bend to your will and to your manifestations. And what you have to do through this entire process is to remain committed. So commitment is the next tier up in your self-concept pyramid. Your commitment is everything. If you fall off of your commitment, then you have to start building from zero again, because a lack of commitment means a lack of treating it like the present, a lack of the renewal of your mind having happened, a lack of a burning desire for change, and a lack of being in a state of consciousness of actually believing for your desires to be attainable by you. But if you do remain committed, which I know that you will, because there's a reason that you're here, my gorgeous little unicorn, then you will end up living your ideal existence. However, to live in your ideal existence, which is free financially, mentally, physically, you have to understand the importance of these different layers and how you can align these in order to achieve your desires with complete ease. But now delving a little more deeply into how you can create wealth for yourself as well as your family. If part of living in your ideal existence includes being financially free, you are going to love the next steps that we're going to take together. If you're anything like me, then you consider the traditional education system, which teaches us nothing about financial literacy, to be cruel in its own way. Why is it that we spend so much time, energy, effort, and money getting an education that fails to teach us basic skills such as understanding how to pay our taxes, how to create income-generating assets, how to be financially literate enough in order to secure our future? But I guess it's not in everyone's interest for us to have this knowledge. And you may have heard this saying before, that knowledge is power. There's a reason why we have to turn to YouTube, books, courses, podcasts in order to acquire knowledge. I want you to understand this very simple equation that produces knowledge. Information plus education equals information plus education equals knowledge. And in many instances, we seem to live in a world in which these are separated, seemingly so that we don't have the knowledge to manifest and liberate. But when you start to combine information and education, even though you've got to do it by yourself, you become infinitely powerful. And we're going to go through a couple examples about this in just a second. Where I want you to understand that this is often separated. We go through an education system that educates us, that gives us all of the tools that we need in order to be these little machines that society is built on. But of course, some information is left out, which we can turn into knowledge to no longer be running in the hamster wheel. And for example, on the internet, there's so much information, but it's really hard to combine that with education because the information is often not very structured. Think about your Instagram timeline, think about YouTube videos, for example. A lot of the information can be hard to piece together so that we then have the result, which is knowledge, because what is missing is a system. We have an information overload. I will now teach you the power of knowledge over assets, so you can understand that once you have acquired knowledge, you are unstoppable, and anything that you desire to manifest will be yours. All right, let's delve a little deeper. This is gonna get really, really fun. So I'm gonna create a real life example for you. We've got startup founders, Alex and Ben. Both of them receive $100,000, all right? So we have A and B. Both of them receive $100,000 as a gift, a big asset. And here is how they each spend that $100,000. Now, Alex buys a luxury car, a luxury vehicle, and luxury clothing, okay, designer clothing, because Alex wants to look as though he's wealthy. What he then does is that he puts this money into a regular savings account, which doesn't really produce any type of interest. And this is because he has a lack of knowledge, a lack of financial education and literacy. So Alex doesn't know that he has perhaps made a mistake or not used this asset of $100,000 to its full advantage in order to create the life of his desires. This is how Alex spends his $100,000 that he receives. Some of it goes away for some luxury items that are depreciating assets into a savings account, and he does not invest. So no investments. He simply leaves it within that savings account. So a couple months or years later, actually what happens is that the car payments and the upkeep of some of the luxuries that he gave himself slowly ate away at these savings, and now he does not have any trace of that $100,000 left because he never invested it into the next income generating asset. So that $100,000 never had an opportunity to manifest into more. And now he's in the same position that he was before he received the funds, or even worse off, because what he actually did do invest into things that he thought were assets, like a luxury car, which actually turned out to be a liability because you have to maintain such a vehicle. You don't make money off of this vehicle per se. Sure, it can drive you to work, but so can the bus, the train, or a regular car that is not a luxury vehicle. Now let's look at what Ben does. Ben does something entirely different. What he does is he first invests in education. Invests in education. So Ben doesn't even touch his $100,000 for the first couple weeks or even months. He invests a tiny portion, a tiny fraction into his financial literacy, into his financial education. So he purchases books, he listens to podcasts, he takes notes, and he reads autobiographies by famous investors and business people so that he can find some common denominators about how they turn wealth into even greater wealth. What he then does is he takes $50,000 and he actually invests $50,000 into his online business, and then the remainder of his $50,000 goes into assets, income generating assets, real assets. Because he invested in his education, he understands the difference between an asset and a liability. An asset puts money in your pocket, a liability costs you funds. So his assets are stocks, bonds, mutual funds, real estate. And his online business is also an asset that he has invested in to generate even more income. So he has the active income stream of building this business, which has the potential to be a 7, 8, or 9-figure business, depending on Ben's ambitions and manifestations. And then he also has his passive income streams in his assets. Perhaps he also wrote a book or created a song, which is paying him royalties every single month. And over time, what happens here is that actually Ben's investments, they grow over time. So I'm just going to write over time right here. So this is all about delayed gratification. I'll just add a little plus right here. Over time, the way that he spent, or shall we say invested, his $100,000 creates more income. Even if he were to lose all of his money in his online business and in his assets that he invested in, the knowledge that he has gained is invaluable. Knowledge that he now has will allow him to rebuild no matter the situation. Outcome is simple. Ben will become wealthy, not because of where they started or what he owned at the beginning, because remember, they both got equal amounts. They both got $100,000. But while Ben will become wealthy and Alex will go broke, is because it doesn't matter where you start. It matters how you apply your knowledge, what you do with it, and what type of knowledge that you choose to acquire. So remember that becoming wealthy is really about the application of your knowledge. All important lesson here is that an asset can be lost and it can be created. But knowledge is the foundation of true wealth. Without financial intelligence, assets can disappear, just as we saw here with Alex. With the right knowledge, wealth can be created repeatedly and created in larger and larger sums over time, just as we've seen here with Ben. What this also proves is that your starting point doesn't matter. No matter what this number would have been, Alex would have squandered his money with the lack of financial education that he had, and Ben would have turned whatever his starting point was into more wealth. And that is because what matters is having the right knowledge in order to produce wealth with it. Let's delve into one more example with one another. I know you're gonna love this one. For all of my fellow psychic CEOs, let's talk about knowledge versus assets in entrepreneurship. And here in this example, we've got Sarah. We'll put Sarah as S, and then we have Trish for T. All right, so Sarah and Trish, they both receive $500,000. All right, so here we go. $500,000. Sarah and Trish have the exact same starting point, just as Alex and Ben. This example is about assets in entrepreneurship. So they are both looking to start their entrepreneurial ventures and to take their businesses to the next level. So what Trish immediately does is she, of course, rents a fancy office, all right? And the minimum rental agreement, at least here in Switzerland, it's 5 years for an office space, and this is what needs to be paid every single month, regardless of whether your business generates enough revenue or not. She also gets employees because, after all, she is the CEO. She needs employees to do all of the tasks that she does not want to do. Trish goes straight into investing most of the money into launching a product that has not been tested yet, launching product. And because she believes in this product, she also believes that the market desires this product in the way that she's launching it. And because she invested all of her money into her product, let's say she's got a hair care line, and she did not think to herself that people would not want a hair care line for hamsters, for example, Trish ends up burning through all of her funds, even being in debt because she still has this fancy office and employees to pay. She might even have to go to court over not being able to keep up with the expenses, as she spent most of her funds immediately on looking like what she believes an entrepreneur and a successful business should look like, rather than actually living it, rather than actually actively creating. Trish eventually goes bankrupt and she gives up on entrepreneurship. Goes bankrupt. And by the way, bankrupt. There's nothing wrong with launching a product. It's not about what she's doing. It is about the fact that she does it from a lack of testing, a lack of knowledge, a lack of manifestation power. So next, let's look at what Sarah does. What Sarah does is similar to what Ben did. She first invests into her learning. She invests into business education, so she reads books, attends seminars and webinars, buys courses, and compares different entrepreneurial paths to one another to then decide what truly fits her idea that she wants to launch and her personality type. What she then does is she tests, and she does this from her home, from her garage, from a space that she is not renting. So she doesn't get a fancy office, nor does she get employees that are employed by her business. She runs tests and she uses freelancers. So she is under no obligation to stick with people who she has hired, especially not having any experience hiring the right people. You can know for sure, and I'm saying this from my very own experience, until you have hired a certain number of people, you do not know how to hire, you do not know what to look out for, and you are going to make mistakes. That is part of the cost of being an entrepreneur. I always like to say, being an entrepreneur, it's going to cost you, and that's like going to entrepreneur university, learning by doing, but also having to pay for some of your mistakes. That's just what happens along the journey. But what she does is she runs small scale tests, she hires freelancers, and she sees what works before she goes all in, before she invests a large amount of her funds. So she starts lean, and what she focuses on is sustainability. So once she has sold a batch of her products, let's say she sells jewelry, she sees what styles are popular, she only got a small handmade batch, and then she builds on that. She reinvests into her business, and she never fully burns through all of her money. Instead, she also invests some of this money into income generating assets. And what happens for Sarah is actually able to scale sustainably, scale her business, and no matter what may happen, and no matter what type of challenges she may face along the way, the knowledge that she has acquired will help her to rebuild her wealth no matter the situation. And she's also created a cushion for herself by not burning through all of her money and all of the assets that she had at the beginning, just in order to bet on one product or on one theory that hasn't been proven just yet. The difference is that Trish has assets but no knowledge. He lost everything. And Sarah acquired the knowledge in order to create more assets. So she scaled sustainably and became wealthy. So this shows you that entrepreneurial success isn't about how much money you start with. It's about how well you use these resources. And in order to even get into the energetic frequency of making the right decisions, you have to become that which you desire to be, which in this case, it would be Sarah. And in our earlier example, you would want to be like Ben. And here's precisely how you get there. With the right knowledge, you can create wealth from nothing. I am living proof of this. And there are practical steps that you can apply from here on out in order to create the type of wealth and financial freedom that you deserve. So let's get into the practical steps, because you guys know I am not a theorist. I love to teach you guys real life application. My goal is always to show you how you can actually apply this knowledge in order to make a real change in your life. So I will show you this 3-step manifestation technique as to how you can step into already becoming a wealthy entrepreneur before the funds have arrived. Here's precisely how you do it. Step number 1. Visualize. Your knowledge, your beliefs, and your mindset are what are going to determine your success in any area of your life. This has nothing to do with your assets, because remember, knowledge is what can create more assets from you, even if you're starting from nothing. I built a 7-figure online business with my last $300, so don't think that I'm saying nothing is the $100,000 example that we spoke about with Ben and Alex, or the $500,000 investment that we were looking at with Sarah and Trish. Those were just examples for you to better understand these concepts. One of the ways in which I was able to create basically something out of nothing was by first visualizing myself as the entrepreneurial version of me that I was trying to become. So I visualized myself every single day as that which I desired to be. I desired to be self-sufficient. I desired to be a successful entrepreneur. I desired to have a thriving YouTube channel, and I desired to have the best entrepreneurial online membership ever for those entrepreneurs who were just like me, who wanted to unify their spirituality as well as their entrepreneurial drive without seeming woo-woo or crazy, but actually using this gift of intuition and understanding energies and manifestations to our advantage and understanding how to apply these gifts that we were naturally given, because intuition is something that humans have possessed since the dawn of time, and intuition is here to protect us, to guide us, to lead us. Listening to your gut feeling is an important part of your manifestation process. So visualize yourself being that which you desire to be. Listen to your gut feeling and your instincts of who you should become. You may have been taught that you should become a doctor, a lawyer, an entrepreneur, a business person, but actually the burning desire, right? Remember that part of your self-concept pyramid. Your burning desire is for you to be a creative or a musician or a comedian. Listen to what your burning desire is, and then start to visualize that and your success every single day. Your booking shows, your products are flying off the shelf. People want to work with you from all across the globe. They want to fly you out left and right to come and participate in their projects. Visualize and feel into that emotion. I literally manifested Google flying me out to LA to do a World Tarot Day project by actually becoming that which I desired to be. What you've got to do next is to make decisions from abundance, not from lack. So decide from abundance. And this is why I do not believe that manifestation as well as entrepreneurship are two separate things. Because if you're not in the mind of a successful entrepreneur, you will not take the right action. You will not make decisions from a place of abundance, which is why it's so important for you to use the law of assumption, to assume to be that successful entrepreneur, and to make decisions from a place of abundance. What do I mean by this? That means that instead of waiting for the right time to begin, start now. Stop living for one day. See it as day one. See today as the first day of you being that most successful version of yourself. Ask yourself, when you're about to make a decision that is perhaps coming from a place of fear, how would the most successful version of me decide to move forward right now? Would they be too afraid to start this YouTube channel? Would they be too fearful to ask for a referral from a happy customer to grow their business, to put their business onto the landscape of businesses more prominently, more evidently? The most successful version of you is fearless. The most successful version of you is most likely putting themselves out there. So do the same. Act from a place of abundance, not lack. And as you see, this is about behavior. This isn't about going from a place of just spending tons of money. This is about attuning your behavior to that of a wealthy person. And a wealthy person understands precisely when to spend and when to understand that lack of resources just needs to make them resourceful. So that is how you create from a place of abundance. And lastly, but absolutely not least, what you're going to do is to align your energy with wealth. Align with wealth. This means that you start to affirm and identify with wealthy affirmations, like everything always works out for me. Of course, I am so sought after in my business and in my industry. Of course, I'm going to be successful because I put in the work and I've got the mindset of a winner. This is combining your manifestations with aligned action. This is removing fear from the equation and understanding that in order to acquire the things that you desire, you have to remove fear and procrastination and replace those with confidence, as well as aligning yourself with that which you desire to be. And who you desire to be does not have this feeling of not being enough or limitations. That is a limitless being. What I'm going to teach you next is probably the most powerful method for you to become the most successful and wealthy entrepreneur that you can be. This is a quantum shifting, time collapsing method for any entrepreneur out here who desires to step into the best version of themselves. So the QSF the quantum shift method. These are 3 steps as well. And the first step that you're going to want to engage in with the quantum shift method, you're going to want to identify with your so-called parallel self. Your parallel self is this other version of you. Think about them standing right next to you in this very moment. How would they behave? What kind of posture would they have? How would they be speaking? What words would they use? The successful entrepreneur in you, picture how you would think, feel, and act daily if you were already the successful person that you desire to be. And then copy them. Shift into this parallel version of yourself. The more familiar you become with this version of yourself and the more that you mirror their behavior and their mindset, the easier it will be for you to draw all of your desires into your current 3D reality. A great way for you to access this version of yourself with more ease is to even go as far as to write a letter from the perspective of your parallel self. So that means writing a letter saying, today I woke up at this address in this dream home. I went to my business that has 50, 500, 5,000 employees, maybe also 0 because you don't want to deal with people, but it's still wildly successful. I have such and such profits and revenues. This is my family life, my home life. I can do whatever I want. I can travel wherever I want. On a jet, on a yacht, in a submarine, in a UFO spaceship, whatever it is that you desire to acquire, write out that letter and start to identify with the energies that circulate around that version of yourself. Because if you think of a highly successful person walking into a room, if you've ever had a conversation with someone who's a billionaire, for example, and I noticed this just a couple weeks ago, I was invited to a billionaire's home, and it was such a stunning, energetic experience because it's a completely different frequency than a quote-unquote normal or unsuccessful person. There's something about their aura, there's something about their energy that is undeniably different. And you must crack the code of your most successful self in order to step into that energy that is slumbering within you as well. It's just about learning to access it. This was a completely self-made billionaire who started from 0, and he acquired all of this knowledge and wisdom and actually applied it. It is incredible to witness, and that is also why it is part of this quantum shifting method, because number 2 is about speaking. All right, speaking as your most successful, wealthy self, and also speak up. That means speaking to people with confidence. In dealing with a challenging situation, ask yourself, what would my most successful version say or do right now? Would they allow this person to talk to me this way, and then you're just going to be overthinking it for the rest of your day because you would be bothered? Or would you not sweat the small stuff because you are so focused on abundance? You're so focused on creating. And once I stepped into a higher version of myself, I noticed that so much of life and little day-to-day hiccups are literally just distractions from the large goal. And when you learn to not take those distractions seriously, to not feed your energy into them, when you learn to speak as the person that you desire to be, which is someone who speaks of ways in which you can grow, who doesn't gossip, who doesn't engage in any type of negative behavior, verbally especially, you start to only focus on speaking about the opportunities, speaking about what you can offer, speaking about your business, speaking it into existence. A lot of you out here, I know you feel a little uncomfortable to talk about your business. You feel a little uncomfortable to speak up and say, you know what, actually, I do own a car wash business. Actually, you know what, I am a healer, a yoga teacher, a nutritionist, a psychiatrist, because you don't want to seem salesy. But this isn't about being salesy. This is about taking up space. This is about being proud of what it is that you have to offer. The third, and I would say most important step for you to do every single day is to do a reality merge. And I will explain to you precisely what this is. Bear with me, my gorgeous soul. So your reality merge means that you are taking on the identity of that which you desire to be, every single morning and every single evening. I personally practice my reality merge through self-care. I think to myself, my most successful version, manifesting them, quantum shifting into them, means that I have to become a doer. I have to assume to be her. How does she behave in the mornings and in the evenings? Well, in the mornings, she works out, so I work out. I go for a walk, I go on my walking pad, I go to the gym. She takes care of herself first before she takes phone calls or answers emails of clients or her employees. What else does she do every single day? When she takes a shower, she doesn't just try to be quick, get it over with, and put on anything. No, she takes her time to exfoliate, to make sure she's moisturized, to make sure she smells scrumptious, because that will give her the confidence in order to appear and step into every room as her highest version with the highest levels of confidence, which will then radiate the type of energy to not only allow me to continue to make the right decisions in order to keep excelling and growing in my entrepreneurship, but it will also show others that I am trustworthy. Because if you don't believe in yourself, how do you expect anyone else to believe in you? Why this form of quantum shifting works is because when you practice this daily, you collapse the timeline between the life that you're living right now and your desired reality. You are actively doing this by shifting your identity first. That is within your control. You are not waiting for external validation or external success in order to become the most successful version of yourself. You are already acting as such ahead of time because we are in a hurry. We do not have all year or all our lives to hope and wish and pray for opportunities to come our way. We create our opportunities and our dream lives. Remember, my beautiful soul, you do not chase success. Success aligns with you. This is the blueprint to how you do it. I trust that you found this video insightful. I'm sending you so much love all the way from Zurich, and I can't wait to catch up with you during an upcoming video. Ich liebe euch und freue mich, euch im nächsten Video wiederzusehen. Make sure you check out these videos if you want to learn more manifestation techniques and ways in which you can start to live your dream life now, and I'll see you soon. Bye, guys!